A little over 11 years ago, my elder sister Anne died of a heart attack. When we were children growing up, Anne was always seemed to be in and out of hospital for one reason or another. And my two younger sisters and I used to remark, and still do, that Anne had all the illnesses for the rest of us put together. When she was 55 years old, she decided she wanted to write about her life and her experiences, especially the experience of having breast cancer as a teenager back in the 1960s. We discovered her writings soon after she died, and I use extracts from those writings as a part of her eulogy at her funeral. When Slackline Productions reached out asking for stories about people you looked up to and admired, I immediately thought of the story of Anne in her own words. This story has been kept by me since the funeral, and apart from my two sisters and my wife, nobody has read it. But her approach to her illness, the way she talked about it, the way she reconciled her life towards it all, is quite remarkable. And therefore, we now have an opportunity to present Anne's story. Marcia is going to read some extracts from Anne's story for us now.
By the age of 15, I had already been in hospital 3 times for operations. The first was at the age of 3. I can still remember sitting in front of the coal fire in the ward eating ice cream. The second operation was to correct a squint in my left eye at the age of 8. It was then I decided I had a huge dislike for Horlicks and Ovaltine, because by the time they got to my bed, the drinks always had skin on them. I've not touched those drinks since. I was in my final year at school when I developed a 2-inch lump in my left breast. My mother took me to see the doctor, who thought I had taken a knock at school and prescribed kaolin poultices to be applied to my breast every evening, thinking it could have been a blocked milk gland. However, this treatment did not work, and I was sent to see the specialist at Blackburn Royal Infirmary. Memory of what actually happened during that visit are vague. However, about 3 weeks later, I remember it was a Sunday morning and we had just returned from church. There was a letter behind the door from my then doctor saying that I had to go into hospital the following day. Mum and Dad came with me on the Monday, and I was admitted to Ward 4 under the care of Mr. Sykes. I was told that I would be having an operation, but not the seriousness of it. On the Tuesday, Mr. Sykes and his team came round and explained to me that I had cancer in my breast and that I would have to have the breast removed along with lymph glands surrounding it to make sure that it would all be taken away. I distinctly remember the shock and horror of what was going to happen to me and started to scream and cry. Mr. Sykes asked for me to be sedated for a little while. I did not know at that time that my mum and dad had been going to explain what was going to happen to me when they visited me that night. The big day dawned, Wednesday, 13th October 1965. I was in the theatre for 4.5 hours. When I came out, my left side was completely flat and there was a big drainage tube coming out under my left arm, feeding into a large bottle on the floor at the side of my bed. It took a few days for me to gain confidence in moving about. I distinctly remember going up to the ward with the bottle under my arm to see the then Minister of Health, Mr. Kenneth Robinson, coming to open the new extension part of the infirmary where I was a patient. When they took the tube out, it felt like it was coming from the very pit of my stomach. I was in hospital approximately 3 weeks. By the time it came to taking my stitches out, it had to be done over 2 days, as the scar was from the left shoulder right down to my waist. At no time do I remember feeling sorry for myself. I think I was too young to realise the full implication of what had happened to me.
Fortunately, at that time, and after the routine of many 6-monthly tests, was given the all clear. However, she was in hospital again a few times with operations on her thyroid, and at the age of 39, they discovered a lump in her other breast, and she had a lumpectomy. She was told by the radiologist, because she was given radiotherapy thereafter, that the lumpectomy need not have happened because the radiology would have cured it. She bore this stoically, like everything else.
Despite having cancer more than once, it has not stopped me living a full and interesting life. I've written my story to show that there is life after having cancer, and would like to say a huge thank you to my family for having had the strength to go through it with me. Also a big thank you to the doctors and nurses at all the hospitals that have looked after me over the years.
Anne was not necessarily uncomplaining through her life. She was a lovely lady, and we miss her very much. This is her story, or extracts of it, and I'm delighted that we have the opportunity to share some of that story with anybody who wants to listen. Anne was a person to admire and a heroine to all of us. God bless you, Anne.